Hello and welcome back to 10 Point Turns. Lots of things have changed since I was last with you, and we definitely need to cover them. This video will aim to cover all the key changes in the new General's Handbook for Age of Sigmar 4th edition. This includes the new seasonal rules, the 12 new battle plans, and a competitive outlook on the future of the game in this edition. Let's jump right into the changes. So, the new GHB came out last month and really rocked the way the game has been played since. Honor guards are out, and in its place stands nothing. The only seasonal rule outside of the battle plans and point changes is regimented forces, which is the ability to re-roll a priority roll once per game after seeing the results of the roll, but before determining turn order. How do you get this? Well, by having more drops than your opponent, of course. Games Workshop continues to try and make high drop lists more valuable than controlling the turn priority at the start of the game. We'll see if it really makes a difference, though. And that really is all of the changes for the seasonal rules. So, future Mr. Turns here. During the writing of this script, I completely forgot about the new Scourge of Ghyran rule set for every single army in the game that is adding a ton of additional flavor and new War Scroll selections, as well as new traits and lores. I had just gotten so comfortable with their existence that I completely forgot all these rules are seasonal and not a permanent addition, which I hope they will be. These have made a huge impact on every single army in the game, and have unlocked additional playstyles and resources, which is great for the competitive scene. Check out those new rules in the Age of Sigmar app, or the Warhammer community website in the meantime. Now, on with the video. Of course, the GHB also introduces specific Gear Night objectives, which the battle plans will have special rules for on a per-plan basis. Honor guards are out the window, which is definitely giving me mixed feelings. In my personal opinion, the more customization, the better, as it leads to more creative expression in list building, and gives competitive players an additional tool in the toolbox. But to make up for its absence, all 12 battle plans have been cranked up to 11, especially compared to last GHB. The battle plans are where Games Workshop really deserves a round of applause, because these are 12 brand new, on-theme, creative, and in-depth plans that breathe a whole new life into competitive play. Each one features a powerful underdog bonus, like letting you turn off a pair of objectives, tethering your opponent to an objective, and giving manifestations strike first. These will be the biggest learning curve of the new edition, emphasized by how playable all 12 plans are in a competitive setting. There is no Star Strike level plan in this GHB, where basically the plan is not played at a competitive level due to the randomness created through the twist of the plan. Now, plans like Path of the Fae, which is a complicated twist that requires a minigame to be played when activated, can certainly be more difficult to understand when playing them, and slow down the flow of the game, but it is controlled chaos, which I think is perfect for the competitive environment. As well as all of the previous changes I have mentioned, there's one more massive change, which also happens to contradict with the very name of this channel and the title of this video, 10 Point Turns. When I created this channel in January of this year, it was to help explain competitive Age of Sigmar to players who had not had the opportunity to participate in this environment, as well as provide a forum for competitive players to discuss topics in this space. In doing so, naming the channel 10 Point Turns was a play on the fact that, in the start of Age of Sigmar 4th edition, 10 points per turn was the maximum you could score, for a total of 50 points by the end of the game. That's no longer the case. Now, in the newest GHB, tactic cards have vastly changed the scoring mechanics to push the max score of a game to 80 points. The breakdown is like this. You can score 10 points per turn on the primary, which is just another term for objectives, and a total of 30 points throughout the game on secondaries, which is a term commonly used for battle tactics. So some turns, based on the battle plan, can be 10-point turns, but some swing turns, where you score both tactic cards, can look like 20-point turns. This makes for huge swings in momentum and scoring, and can cause a drastic catch-up effect for a losing player, or allow a winning player to really step on the gas. Battle tactics are going to be a huge part of the game. They always were, of course, making up 4 points out of every turn in the previous GHB, combining for 20 total points over the course of a game. Now, tactics can take up a potential 30 points per game, with 15 points total possible from each tactic card. But how do you pick which tactics you're going to score? One of the biggest shakeups of the new GHB is that tactic cards are now selected in list building. You will no longer have to hum and haw at the start of every turn when selecting a tactic, because you can do that when you build your lists. The tactic cards are designed in 3 steps, where you have to score the first step before being able to score the second, and the same for the second to the third. A tactic from each card can be scored at the end of your turn, which then unlocks the next tactic in the order. Notably, most of the tactic cards' third tactic, or the domination tactic, require a strong hold on the game, and have been labeled by the community as win more tactics, where you will often only score them if you are winning the game by tabling your opponent. This is not always the case for some armies, but remains decently consistent among most armies and tactic cards. I plan on releasing a video shortly after this one with a deep dive into those tactic cards. So what does that mean for the game? Selecting tactics and list building now takes away a large time sink at the start of every turn, and while there are only 6 cards, this allows for 15 pairs of tactics for every list, which is a lot better than the previous 6 generic tactics and 2 offered by each Grand Alliance. This also means that people will be constructing lists to accomplish tactics even more so than before, creating game plans that follow the tactic trees. The last major update was to terrain. It now matters. A lot. Terrain with the obscuring keyword now blocks visibility for all abilities, not just shooting, and no longer does so for monsters. It also works for a unit as long as every model in that unit is within 1 inch of the terrain. If a unit with a shooting attack meets these aforementioned qualifications, the range on that attack is halved. This is a huge change, as several plans are abundant with terrain that has the obscuring keyword, while also stripping this benefit from monsters, which is tough for armies like Sons of Behemoth, who were previously benefiting from this ability. Places of Power now no longer give a bonus to casting or chanting, and instead have multiple options, which are: give a non-wizard hero the Unbind 1 ability, on a 3-up, heal all units wholly within 6 inches 2 health, but on a 1, deal damage to each unit within 6 inches, and on a 3-up, pick a terrain piece or objective within 12 inches of the hero, and make it have the obscuring keyword. These are definitely interesting, with the obscuring mode very powerful against armies relying on abilities that require visibility or shooting. The heal can also be strong, and the anti-magic tech is already pretty consistent with one of the options a Place of Power offered in the previous season. So, with the new terrain, new tactics, new battle plans, and a new seasonal rule, how do you play in this season? What are some of the key takeaways to use in your games? Let's dive into some key tips I have from this season, and what you can use in your game to play better and have more fun. To start, let's look at what you're bringing to the battle. List building, as I have emphasized previously, is such a huge part of competitive play, and it is largely what the conversation in competitive spaces revolves around. With the new season, list building has obviously made a pretty massive change, as you now have to select your tactics when creating a list. Most armies also got cheaper across the board, and the average army size is slowly starting to look like AOS 3rd edition again. My biggest point I want to leave you with when list building is to pick your tactics first. You should select whatever army it is you want to play with. Maybe it's the only one you have, or the one you feel like playing in an upcoming tournament. Then you pick the tactics you want to play towards. Tactics cannot be an afterthought after you create your list. They need to be the primary focus of your list building efforts, since each card requires certain capabilities of the army you select. There are a couple of rules of thumb in this selection, but for the most part, most armies can do any of the tactic cards. GW did a great job in not locking armies out of tactic cards, except for Sons of Behemoth. So select what tactics seem consistently achievable by your faction, and then build to make them even easier to complete. For example, if I am playing Soulblight Gravelords, I am always selecting Scouting Force as one of my cards. It coincides with my game plan of recurring models in enemy territory, and my army heavily supports it, as I want to bring a lot of infantry and cavalry units anyway, as they're what's strongest. If I'm an army that is playing for the double turn, I'm probably never taking Wrathful Cycles, as it requires you to be the underdog to score a tactic, which can be impossible if you take an early double and never get doubled back. When it comes to accomplishing these tactics in-game, do not sacrifice the state of the board to score your tactics. You only need 3 turns to score all 6, but that should not be your expectation every game. If the game is close, you'll most likely be perfectly happy scoring 4 out of your 6 tactics and playing to score the primary every turn. So, think of your tactics as what they really are: secondary objectives that you already, in list building, decided would be good to accomplish in every single game. Overall, I am loving the revitalization that this new GHB has given the game. My competitive games were starting to feel pretty samey, focusing on playing your own game and scoring on the same set of tactics while dancing around your opponent, or just tabling your opponent by turn 3. I have enjoyed how often the games I'm playing go to turn 5, and have felt more dynamic with the new tactic cards. So get out there and get some games in. I know I will be. I plan on attending a GT this August, as well as the Nova Open this Labor Day weekend. Please let me know if you would like me to make a video covering either or both of those experiences. Also, let me know what you want to see me make next. Thanks for watching.